absolute lollipop.
He's been able to advance.
It's in the air. This is going to be out straight down his throat. Oh, he's dropped.
Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Oh, he's knocked him over. What a ripper. What a good piece of bowling.
Ronaldo!
The Bros! The Bros! Unbelievable!
Welcome everybody. This is the Student Athlete Podcast. I am Santosh, a cricketer pursuing a degree in Bachelor's of Commerce.
And I'm Sriram, a bowler pursuing an ICT degree.
And we are your hosts. What's good, everybody? Welcome back. You are listening to the Student Athlete Podcast, India's first podcast for the student athletes. So in today's episode, we have a very special guest for you all. He is an ultra-marathon runner who has represented our country in various tournaments across the globe. He is the first Indian and the only Indian to participate and complete the Spartathlon, one of world's toughest races in the year 2015. Also, he is the only Indian to compete and complete the La Ultra High and secure the first place in the whole tournament. He is the first Indian to participate and finish the UTMB CCC held in France. He has a lot of laurels under his name and has also broken a lot of records. An interesting fact to be stated over here. India had never participated in the Trail World Championship up until 2016. It was only after this person had completed the Spartathlon that India had given an entry into the Trail World Championships in the 2017 edition. And from there on, India has been a regular participant in the World Championships. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Marathon Man of India, Kieren D'Souza. Welcome to the show, Kieren, and thank you for joining us.
So I'm basically an ultra runner, so I focus on running essentially long distances, but I prefer to run these distances not on the plains, on the roads, or in a stadium or something. I prefer running them in the mountains and nature, in the outdoors. So that's sort of where I focus where I practice my sport and also where I compete. Lately, I've also been able to do a couple of mountaineering sort of projects and mixing running and the sport of mountaineering and sort of doing something that's sort of in between these two things. And so, yeah, pretty much this is sort of what I'm doing, and I've been doing this as a full-time athlete now for the last 5 years, but essentially been running for the last 10 years now.
Wow. So where are you currently living?
I live in Manali.
Oh, okay. So how is it like? Explain how it is, the environment over there.
Yeah. So currently we have very good weather. It's been like sunny days, but we are in the middle of winters, and I am right now sitting in front of a fire that's burning in my room to keep things warm, and I have a sweater on, and so it is fairly cold and chilly, but it's a beautiful time of the year to be in Manali and enjoy this time of the year. And I've been living here now for the last 5 years almost.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love being out here. It's away from all the chaos and the rush of the cities, and I live in a little village outside Manali, so it's a nice peaceful place, and I'm lucky that the kind of stuff that I want to do with the sport or with my life, it allows me to live in a place of this sort and keep sort of chasing my dreams.
No, that's nice. How's it different from? I'm pretty sure you must have lived the city life too. So how's it totally different from the forest life?
Basically, like I have been living before coming to Manali. I was in Bangalore for 4-5 years, where I was doing my graduation, and then I was working for a bit. But before Bangalore, I basically grew up all over the country with my dad, traveling with him since he's works in the Indian Air Force.
Oh, okay.
But I love being here. Like I think I actually enjoyed when I look back at it nowadays. I think enjoyed living in Bangalore as well. But the
Mm-hmm.
peace and the the kind of lifestyle you have here, right? Like I don't have any apps on my phone like Swiggy and Uber and Zomato and like, these kind of things don't function here, right? So like I don't have these apps, and
Mm-hmm.
if I need something, I need to walk down 1-2 kilometers to the mall road to get fruits and vegetables, and if I forget something, I need to walk back all the way down and walk up the mountain to get stuff. And I love this stuff of being here actually. I like the walk
Oh,
and I like this lifestyle in this way. Um,
wow. So, how did they even allow you to go to Manali? Like, parents are really protective.
so
I don't know. Yeah.
I actually so have uh, in a way I think so I've lived in a boarding school for many years as well.
Oh.
So like I was in Nagpur in a school called Montfort, so in the boarding school for Montfort in pretty much from class 6, 7, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
parents because my dad got transferred to Nagpur around class 10, 11. So I was back with them for 2 years, and then I was out again for college and everything. And I think my folks have I think fairly been fairly supportive with whatever I wanted to do with my whatever choices I've been wanting to make basically, and so that I think essentially is making life a lot easier. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to go through it. There was a small process of convincing them, but not much of a hassle.
I think this would be my first question since you mentioned that your dad was an Air Force official. He was a group leader, right?
Group captain, yeah,
Group captain.
he still
Yes,
is.
my bad. Yes. So,
Yeah.
oh, he still is. So, yeah. How, like, normally when people come from the military background or army background, they have a different mindset, totally, completely different from the others. So, what were the qualities you saw in your dad? What were the qualities he instilled in you, and what are the qualities you look back at him and think, oh wow, I think I should have this. Oh, my dad was right about this. So, could you explain more? We would like to know more about your dad and how he uh,
Yeah.
helped you chisel into what you are.
So I think it's a cool question in the sense like it's I mean whether he has had a big impact on me. So
Mm-hmm.
whether it's been intentional or it's just sort of happened over the years is I don't know. But I mean I don't. It's not. He's not had a. I mean it's not like he's had a good impact on me intentionally. I think growing up as a kid, I don't. I think we always whatever our parents say, we never like to listen to them anyways, right? So I think it's a normal thing, right? Your dad will be like, tell you to do this, and you want to do completely something else, and it's pretty normal, I think, right? So, but I think
Hmm.
one of the things, there are a couple of things, but I think one of the things growing up with my dad, especially him being in the military, I think it would be discipline. Um, I think but I now used to like it when he used to be very punctual with time and everything. But over the years, I've realized that I want to be punctual and I like being punctual with things and time is sort of important for me. Like I think I hate being late. I hate being, uh,
Hmm.
I mean, if I have to go out for a run at 5:30 in the morning, I have to go out at 5:30 in the morning. I start getting annoyed if I have to go at 5:45. So I think that's a
Hmm.
good thing that I've sort of got from him that being disciplined with my day it allows me to sort of pursue this thing I'm pursuing is uh it's a very niche random um thing, right? This space doesn't really exist, so for me to be chasing dreams of making a profession out of something of this sort with this sport that I'm doing, I think does require a lot of sort of discipline, a lot of commitment, a lot of your head on the shoulders thought process,
Right.
and making decisions on the go, adjusting to things, and not getting carried away with things. I think these are things that have probably come through my dad, right? And through whatever he's been, telling us growing up, and whether we liked it or not, now when I have those things have been instilled in me, and sort of it does add value to my life.
Yeah. So talking of discipline, being an athlete itself demands discipline, and being an ultra marathon runner requires even more discipline for the sole reason that it has to be done alone. So how do you process this thing, and how do you build discipline?
I think, I think for me, I don't know if I can answer this for everyone, but for me, it comes out of the fact that I am solely responsible for my actions, right? So I have made a choice of making this sport my career. So I need to make it work, and I need to be focused, and I need to not get carried away with things in life. So that I think allows me to be disciplined and not, lose track of what I want to do, because I don't have a plan B. Like when I started this thing, I never started it with a plan B. I just had one plan. So I never
Yes.
worked for anything else. I've just been working on this one thing.
So can you say that since you did not have any plan B, you were able to focus more on this plan A, which is the running space?
It is right. It's exactly that, right? Because this is all. I just had one goal from the start, and that's all I have to work towards, without getting distracted with anything else.
Because when you said that you did not have any plan B, I could resonate to what the great Arnold once said. He said that he never had plan B, which helped him to focus more on his only goal, which was bodybuilding at that time, and look at where he's come. And one of the things which from what you said we can learn is the extreme ownership which you have to take with your life. If people don't take ownership of their life, I don't think I think it'll be hard moving front for the future.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really important concept what you talked about right now.
I mean, in the end, at least for me, I've realized that nobody's going to do anything for me, right? I need to do and work for everything on my own. And if people help out, that is great. But if people don't help out, that is also great, because eventually it's things I'm doing for myself, for my life, for my dreams. So I need to take ownership for it, and I need to work for it.
So 2010, this is a really important year in your life, because if 2010, as a 17-year-old kid, if you wouldn't have run that 10K run, uh, things would have never been the same again. So how did your first race go, and what happened? Talk us through the process of the first race and the aftermath.
The first race that I did was it was an inter-college race, and I had never really done any kind of running event before that. The most running I had done was when it was uh, for other sports, for football or something, right? So training specifically for that was like, it was quite hard, I would say, initially at least, because I had no idea as to how one should train for this. And I definitely undertrained and underprepared for it. But when I went for the 10K, it was quite a painful experience because I was underprepared. And I remember like wanting to give up and drop out. And I think the only thing that sort of kept me going was the fact that it would be a bit embarrassing, to not finish and be like get to the finish line in an ambulance or something, which was following us at the back. So I think that embarrassment allowed me to sort of dig in and go and get to the finish. But generally, it was not a very pleasant and happy experience. I remember wanting to not run anymore after that, and just not run basically.
So then, what what made you change the whole whole career towards running?
I think okay. So while I did not want to like run, and I did not really want to run anymore after that, I kept running in training mainly because I realized like that was one activity I did not require friends or teammates or anything for. Like football and basketball and everything, you still need to have a bunch of people to sort of do and play with every day, right? So every day getting people psyched and come out and play is a bit of work. So I realized like running was that one activity where I could just go out and do and pursue it on my own without being bothered about whether people will join or they'll ditch or they'll not come. So I ended up I ended up just running on my own even after that without really thinking of necessarily like doing an event or racing or running as events in the future. But few months after that, I ended up going home. By that time, my dad was in Nagpur and ended up going, I think, for holidays or something in Nagpur. And there was a race that was happening, a 10K, another 10K race, I think that was happening. So I ended up signing up for that. And the second experience turned out to be quite a nice and quite a pleasant experience compared to the first one. I think that allowed me to, sort of understand that if I keep training, I could get better, and it will not be. It's not necessarily going to be as unpleasant every time. So after that, I think things started to kick off when I was like, I can train more. I should train more, and then I started training more and looking at more events that I could do, and it's pretty much started going from there.
So your first ultra marathon, the 100-kilometer one in Bangalore, 2012, you completed that in 11 hours and 50 minutes. So what went through your mind when you completed the first ultra marathon in your life, and
describe the whole experience?
So the two instances we have spoken about are both instances where I have not had the most pleasant experiences. So this 100K was a very similar experience as the 10K, where I remember wanting to give up around 55, 60 kilometers. And I remember, just getting on with it and sort of finishing it. And I remember wanting to never run an ultra race again after that. I decided that, I would stick to the 10s and the 20Ks, which were a lot more comfortable and a lot more fun. It was not the most pleasant and fun experience to run a 100K. But I think, it took me a few days to, get to a point where I could walk and the soreness sort of faded away, and where I could walk normally, because your legs are very sore after these long races. And I think once things sort of got back to normal, I started to appreciate the whole experience I had gone through in the 100K, and appreciate the work I had put in, and sort of enjoy the fact that I had, dug deep and mentally pushed beyond barriers sort of that I'd ever experienced. And that gave me a lot of pleasure and satisfaction. And I think that sort of is what attracted me to want to run a 100K again and again and again.
Wow.
I think you made something a point over here. This resonates to the movie Fight Club, in which Tyler Durden, the narrator, the main protagonist, he says that the things you own end up owning you, and this is similar to your running, because you were like, you did not want to run again, but you still went for it. But now when you look back, can you say that running has started owning you?
I don't know if running owns me. Like, I feel there are other things in life other than running as well. While it is an important part of my life, I don't think it's the most important part of my life. I think there are more things I want to do with this time that I have on this planet. Um, I think running is a very
Wow.
important sort of piece of it, and it is something that I genuinely like and would not stop doing even if I was not competing. Um, I enjoy going out and lacing up and running on the roads and on the trails every day. So I definitely love doing that. But I think there are more things that are of interest to me other than just running to sort of take over my whole life.
Hmm.
What are the other things do you which you think are important
Uh,
according to
so
you?
for
Yeah.
me, I think what there are it's for me it's trying to find um, things that give me satisfaction, right? Like so running is one of those things, but then there are things like I want to see this whole ecosystem of the outdoor space grow, where there is more, where there are more people doing more activities, where there are more people doing more activities on a serious level, where there are more companies and brands present, where there are more events. So the whole ecosystem growing, and seeing that whole development at least when I think of it, it allows me. It feels like I would be satisfied looking at that. Uh, I so there are there are other activities, right? I really want to get into mountaineering. So that is another activity which I feel I can derive a lot of satisfaction from. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
Trying to encourage and introduce these sports to more and more people is what also satisfies me, right? Like I just don't want to go and be running and doing things. I would also want more people to sort of, like reaching out to more people and trying to get more people to do these activities also sort of, it makes me happy. At least
Mm.
so there are things of this sort, right? Not, but mostly revolving around, probably revolving around sport, per se, but not just me running around.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
really a good, not good. It's really a great vision, and inspiring
Yeah.
people is, like Kobe says, one of the most important thing you can do is to inspire people to be them, to let them be great at whatever they do.
Exactly.
And I'm sure you're already in the process of doing it, and you are already inspiring people.
Yeah,
So
There's
there's
always
always
something
work.
fun.
there's always more to do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's,
you
I
that's
think that's
always
how
been
humans are,
there.
right? I think it's it's this weird sort of thing, right? Like where
It's an
exactly, like
endless
you
loop.
get to a point, you want to get to the next point, and you keep wanting to. It's part of
Exactly.
I guess humans growing and developing. Yeah,
True, true. Even if it's like a good deed, you get greedy doing
yeah,
more good
exactly. You want more.
things.
You want to do more. You want exactly,
Yeah,
exactly,
even if it's a good
exactly.
thing, huh?
I think
It's just the
I
inner
think
hunger.
probably the folks in the world who are the most at peace with themselves, who don't want anything, I guess, who are just satisfied with what they have. And I
Oh,
guess that's a
yes.
hard place to be at as well.
Very hard place. I remember, there was this lesson I learned where,
Mm-hmm.
the Alexander the Great conquers half of the
Mm-hmm.
world or the whole world. He goes to a monk and he asks, see, I've conquered the whole world. And I'm not, I'm the greatest or something like that. And what are you? And the monks reply saying, I have conquered the urge of conquering other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they say, if you can conquer your needs and if you can conquer, if you're satisfied with whatever you have, I think
Mm-hmm.
you're at peace
True,
with
true.
yourself.
And that's a hard place to be at. And
But then,
uh, yeah,
but that doesn't allow in our society. That doesn't allow in our like. Of course, you can't just go say your parents, okay, mom, dad, I think I'm satisfied with everything. I want to
true.
stay this way. But yeah,
But that's the thing, right? Like,
pretty much that.
if I can do that, I want to do that. So it's like a catch-22
Yes.
situation where you yeah, it's hard to be that, and yeah, be that. At least not at this point in my life. I want to do things, and I want to keep doing things.
So 2014, the La Ultra High in Ladakh, uh, you you were not able to match the cutoff mark at 48 kilometers for the 7 hours. Then you came back in 2016. You won the race, and for listeners who don't know what La Ultra High is, it is one of the most cruel race in the world. This takes place in Ladakh. It starts at an altitude of 10,500 feet in the Nubra Valley before going on to Kadurangla, which is the world's highest motorable pass at 17,700 feet. So you came back in 2016, and you secured the first place by completing the race in 15 hours and 30 minutes. So how did you feel during the 2014 loss, and how did you prepare and come back for the bounce back? How did you prepare, and how did you go about the process?
Yeah, yeah. So the first time when I dropped out, when I DNF'd at La Ultra was definitely like pretty painful as an experience, and I was pretty down and sad about it. But it also was probably one of the first big growing experiences that I had. At that time, I was running for a few years, and I was doing fairly all right, winning a couple of races here and there, and running well. And my ego was definitely at an all-time high, and not finishing that race definitely humbled me and put me in my place, and allowed me to not take things for granted. So it was definitely a good and a important learning process that I went through there, and uh, and also a process that allowed me to understand myself better. So when I went back in 2016, now that time I had actually gone, and I had gone to Laltra more as a tune-up race and a training race. I sort of used it in that way, because I was doing a race a couple of weeks later called Spartathlon. So I
Yes.
had built up a lot of training throughout the year, and Laltra was that one race which I wanted to use as, because one, I had failed at it the first time, so I thought if I do well in this race, it will boost my confidence level going into Spartathlon, and also I would get over that. It was like unfinished business, and I would get over it as well. So I put in a lot of work, went for the race, and basically executed it the way I was supposed to for that time, and it it allowed me to basically get the confidence I wanted for Spartathlon going into that race. That is a big and a hard race, so I needed all that confidence that Laltra gave me from finishing and winning it. And I essentially, after not finishing Laltra in the first year in 2014, I had told myself that I'll never get to the start line of any race without where I'm not prepared well, where I don't put in the time and effort to train for it and do a good job with it. So the second time was basically all was that. I trained a lot, went there, did I think a decent job.
So can we say that uh, you went into the second race, the second time when you attempted the race, you did not have, did you have expectations from yourself that you have to complete this in a particular time? Or you went in with no expectation, and like you said, it was just a preparation race for the one which was coming up?
I did have some amount of expectations, because it was uh, it was it was a sort of right, and did have expectations, but the most important expectation I had for myself was that when I finished the race, I should not feel like I'm broken, like I can't run anymore, because I was supposed to run Spartathlon, and that is more than double the distance. So I didn't want to
Yes.
feel running 111 kilometers. I didn't want to feel like I'm broken and I can't run anymore. So my biggest like I was extremely happy with the fact that when I finished the ultra, I felt great. I didn't feel like I was broken and I had nothing left.
Hmm.
So, taking back to going back to 2015, one of the important races in your career, the UTMB CCC, which is Ultra Trail du Mont Blanc, in the Alps around the Mont Blanc massive mountains. So in France. So you completed the race. You were the first Indian to participate and finish that UTMB CCC. And you were placed 224th among 1900 participants. So how did the whole thing go about? How did you go about it, and what was leading up to the race? What went through your mind?
So I was actually pretty scared at the race because uh, it was uh, the first time I had gone abroad. The first time I had gone to like I'd put all my money that I had earned outside India. So it was a pretty over experience, and it was a scary experience as well. But I think it was quite an adventure, and I enjoyed every moment of it. And running CCC, it was a race I'd read about over the year, running books that I used to read. So, actually being at the start line of that event myself sort of allowed me to just, like, I remember, in college I would read some of the books and I'd be dreaming about these things. So it was literally me, going from dreaming about it in Bangalore in college to actually standing at the start line of the event. So it was quite an amazing experience being there. And the race lived up to the hype that you can read about, and it's a crazy, pretty amazing experience running. Um, and I did all right. I think I had no pressure on myself with the race because the only pressure was not to screw up and not finish it. Other than that, I didn't have too much pressure because I did not have much of an experience running a full race. I didn't know how to perform, what to expect from the race. Any of the I didn't understand any of the things that go into trail running at that time. So because of that, I didn't have any expectations on myself, which allowed me to actually just enjoy the whole experience and not get stuck in trying to expect something.
So, hmm. So right now, would you call yourself an experienced runner, or someone who is experienced enough to guide
at
others?
This moment, yes, I should be able to call myself that because I've been doing this for now 10 years. If I still call myself an experienced runner, then I think nobody can. I think I'm experienced enough to know how I can guide someone and not know how to guide.
Yes.
I have the experience and to understand myself better now. So I know I have more clarity as to what kind of running I can do, what kind of running suits my style. And I also have clarity as to what someone else could and could not do. So I think, yes, all these years of running has allowed me to gain some kind of experience and clarity with the whole space.
Okay, so I will. This is like a personal question, all right? Don't take it in the wrong way, but I hate running. All right. Yeah. How do I get more affectionate towards that? Because I think I'm doing it the wrong way.
Okay, so I can agree with you. Running is a very monotonous activity, right? You're just running.
Yes.
True.
You're not doing anything different. There are no nothing. You just got to keep going, and that is why I can get if you do not. That's the same reason why I love running. The fact that it's such as a sport, it is accessible to everyone. It's a very simple sport. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how poor you are. You have access to the sport of running. There's zero equipment that goes into it. The simplicity of it, right? And I love that that's what I love about running. When you're running, you feel every step of the run. There are no shortcuts. There are no like workarounds.
True.
You have to move and make that effort every single time, right? Even if you're running downhill, it could be easier, but you still have to make that effort and move your leg, and you have to live through every single footstep on a run, and that is what I enjoy about this sport. Like you can for example, if you're cycling, you can easily stop pedaling when you're going down on a downhill, right? If you're playing basketball, you can easily take a breather in a corner somewhere, let someone else. Like you have 5 people on a distance, right? They can sort of run around. You can take it real easy for a bit. But now while you're running, you have to do everything on your own. And I enjoy this stuff about the sport. So I think you shouldn't look at it as running. You should look at it as an activity you need to do to better your sport, right? Don't look at it as a separate activity. Your overall goal is basketball and improve at that. So you should be in a place where you want to do anything to improve at basketball. And if running is part of it, it doesn't matter whether you want to like it or you don't like it, because you're doing it to improve what you like. So you can look at it in that way. For example, even in running, right? It's not like I just go out and run every day. Running is training. Like if I want to prepare myself for an event or a particular goal, I need to train. I need to put in the work. And when you're putting in the work, then it doesn't matter what I like or don't like. I need to do things to improve. And even if it's the things I don't like. And most of the time, it's the things we don't like that play a big role and important role.
That's very well put. Things you don't like are the most important for your
exactly
improvement.
Because eventually we all don't like things, and those things that we leave out is what we should be doing for ourselves, right? And I think that's valid for things in life always, not just a sport.
Yes.
Taking you back to 2015 to the 2016 to the Spartathlon. For the listeners, Spartathlon is a long race. It's a 246 kilometers race, which has to be completed in 36 hours. This is held in Greece. And there are certain criteria to be followed, criteria to get selected into this. And Kieren D'Souza, my man, he is the first person from India to participate in the competition and to complete the race. Until 2016, there were only 28 people under the age of 25 who had completed the race, and Kieren is the 29th man. And through the course of the race, he also broke many records. He broke the 100-mile record by completing that in 18 hours and 37 minutes, which is first by an Indian. And he finished the race within 2 hours and 35 minutes left on the race. That is 33 hours, 2 minutes and 25 seconds. He completed the race with 85th position among the 370. And that is the moment, which transformed the running scene in India. Can we say that? And please talk us through the whole Spartathlon thing. Leading up to Spartathlon, how did you prepare, and the whole Spartathlon thing in Athens? How did you go about it?
So I did not, intentionally try to qualify for Spartathlon. I had done CCC in 2015, and then a couple of months later, I did a 100-mile race. I was at home in Delhi, and there was this event happening. So I was like, you know what, let's sign up for this 100-mile race and just have fun and see if I could even run this kind of distance, because I had never run over 100K before that. So there was no pressure. It was all about having fun at that event. and just seeing what happens. It so happened that I ended up finishing it fast enough, allowed me to qualify for Spartathlon. Now, at that time when I raced, I didn't know that, but eventually, folks were like, "Oh man, you've run it fast enough that you can actually apply for Spartathlon." And I started
Yeah, you completed that in 18 hours and
20
30
hours and 32. Yes, exactly. And then I started to think about Spartathlon, and I was like, no Indian had ever qualified for it, no Indian had ever run it. So, being a first Indian to do something would actually be quite a cool thing, and I think I think that was my uh, one of the things that sort of convinced me to go and do the race. And the fact, of course, that Spartathlon is another race that I have been reading. It has has a very rich history, and I had been reading. Again, I was like a running geek. I used to read a lot about running in the first 5-6 years of when I started running. So when I got that opportunity to go and run, it was a race that I had dreamed of running someday in the future. Presented itself, I just jumped at it pretty much. I signed for it, I got into the race, and I was actually pretty excited to go for it. So I trained very seriously for a good 7 months leading up to the race with everything. I don't think the only other race I did that year was La Ultra, which was a tune-up race for Spartathlon. And I don't think I did any other race that year. All my focus was just preparing and training. And I ended up finishing the race at least. I was a little disappointed in the sense because, I was trying to, once the race started, during the race, I started to dream about finishing below 30 hours. So the thing is, very few people finish the race every year. Like it has almost like a 50% DNF dropout rate. And second, many people go multiple years and they don't finish. And then finishing puts you in a different league itself, where very few people actually finish it within 30 hours. There are like a handful of numbers in the early double digits. So when that became a reality that I could do below 30 hours, I think the fact that I could be the first Indian to do something was definitely a driving factor behind the decision. It's around 205 kilometers where things sort of started to go south. I ended up getting tendonitis on one ankle and another, so I pretty much came to a stop and was barely limping across the last 42 kilometers, the last marathon. And my goals of wanting to finish below 30 was a reality. And for Spartathlon, it is quite a big deal. People don't finish that race easily. It has sort of almost like a 50% dropout. So I was wanting to get that, and not getting it because of these little niggles did sort of a bit disappointing. But the fact that I sort of pushed myself through all that pain and I could have dropped out and just not finished the race. And it's all right? At a race of that sort, things like this happen. I was proud about myself, about the effort that I'd put in, and pushed myself through all that pain and finished that race. And that is probably one of my proudest sort of running experiences even now. That whole process of going through all that pain and coming out of it was pretty amazing. So yeah,
I think till 2017, India had never given a chance, an entry into the World Trial Championships, and it was you after completing the Spartathlon. And you and your father went and requested the Athletics Federation of India, and you just got the nod. You got the nod from the Athletics Federation to get into the Trial World Championships. So every kid's dream would be to represent their country in whatever sports they play, and you were able to do it. The fact that you were given the opportunity to do it, and you went for the race, and how did you feel about the first time you donned the India jersey, and the leading up for the years also, 2018 and 2019. 2018 was, it was, you were one of the top performers for India. So how did you feel about the whole thing?
I mean, for everyone, like, in almost any space you are in, when you get the opportunity to sort of be the face in your space for whatever you're doing, right? Like representing your country in whatever space you are. I think it is a very proud moment, right, for everyone. And for me, it was naturally the same. But the fact that I had also played a role in moving that whole process, and also, played a role in actually getting things in place and setting things up and allowing not just me, but more people to actually have that opportunity, made me even more proud for my dad and for myself.
So how is the running space developing in India? How's the structure, and how do you feel, to be the pioneer in the running space in India?
So
how do you feel about that?
Quite a heavy term of, calling me a pioneer for the space in India. But I think I don't look at myself like that. I would say I just look at myself as a guy who wants to do things, and I'm just figuring out things that I want to do and do them, and not trying not to get stuck behind the fact that it can't be done. And I think truly what I derive the most satisfaction from is not just me running well, but also seeing that I have contributed in some way to allowing many more people to do this as well.
So this year, you took up 3 different projects on your hand. The first one being the FKT, fastest known time in the Friendship Week. Then the second one is the Triple Trouble Circuit, and the third one, Deo Tibba, which is also the Nivia 42K. You set records among all these 3, all the projects. So why did you want to do it? Why did you want to do it? And how did the things took place? Before that, can you explain what they are to the listeners who might be listening, who are listening?
Before running and everything started, my interest was always mountaineering. With time, when I did like a basic mountaineering course in 2009 and 10 or 10, I can't remember which year. And I realized that mountaineering is a bit of a time-consuming activity, because you need to be out in the mountains for weeks on end, and it's also a bit expensive. And I was just passing out of class 12, getting into college, so naturally don't have the budget to be able to pursue a sport which is a bit resource intensive financially, especially. So that's how running sort of started taking priority, because that was something that was not sort of heavy on the pockets, right? But when I came back to the mountains and I started reading about trail running and what people were doing globally, and I started doing trail running myself, one of my goal was to start my dreams of mountaineering sort of reignited, and I was once again looking at now not just running but mixing this sport of running and mountaineering. And over the years living in Manali, I've gotten a sense of what mountains are where and what can be done. And I've just been dreaming about wanting to do Friendship Peak and Deo Tibba and these routes that I eventually did this year. So over the years, since I've been here, I've not had the opportunity to actually pursue it, mainly because racing season sort of clashes with this mountaineering season that we get in this area. So I have always sort of given priority to my races. But with this year, naturally, nobody having the opportunity to travel, and no racing and stuff happening for me this year, I decided it was a good time to, pursue these goals that I had been dreaming of over the last few years since I've been here in Manali. So that's how I finally, got out and did Friendship Peak, and whether the Triple Travel Circuit or the Deo Tibba speed attempt as well. And what I did basically was that you have, it's like an unofficial thing where it's called FKT, fastest known time. And what it basically means is, on a certain route, you set an FKT, you set a fastest known time on a particular route, which is now open to anyone, and anyone can come and attempt it and try. And it becomes sort of like a competition without it actually being a proper organized event. Right now, the FKT I've set on Friendship is available for anyone and everyone to make an attempt on. So what I did, I did Friendship first in June, and then Triple Trouble, which is like a 126-kilometer race over Hamta Pass and Rohtang Pass, and it started in Manali. And then I did Deo Tibba. Now, one of my interests of wanting to do these peaks in India was, sort of show people that we can do stuff here as well. We have access to the biggest chunk of the Himalayas, so to say, lying around in India, right? And not too many of these activities happen here. So with doing and making these attempts, I hope that I'm able to show and encourage people that things like this can happen in the Indian Himalayas. You don't need to go to Mont Blanc or to Denali or elsewhere. You can do a lot of things, and there are amazing opportunities that we have itself in India.
Wow. So, do you believe that running is more mental than physical?
Right? Like we discussed earlier, right? It's quite a monotonous activity. It's very easy to get bored. It's very easy to be like, I don't want to. It's very easy for it to become painful. There are a lot of deterrents, so to say, right? Whether it's the pain, it's the boredom, so it is in your head. The whole experience is in your head. It is a very mental activity.
So, how do you talk to yourself? What do you do to even keep going for that? I mean, I can barely run for like 1-2 kilometers, and I'm like, okay, I'm tired. But how do you do that for a longer stretch?
What kind of self-talk do you have with yourself?
Is it a self-talk, or do you don't even talk to yourself, or you just just blindly? And also, I don't believe you'll be using your music.
Okay, so I don't have a straight answer which will help you. There are a lot of different things. Yes, I do use music, but I don't use music very often. For example, when I was doing Deo Tibba, I was listening to 5 songs throughout the 19 hours. Right? Like, that's all I had, the music I had. So it's like, the music is there as a company. It's there as a third person, just giving some noise and just there in the background for me. It's not usually something that I'm concentrating on. Whether I run with music or I don't run with music doesn't affect me as such. In the sense, I mostly, like, when I'm racing, I don't listen to music at all. When I did the Triple Travel circuit, right, that also was about 19 hours. I didn't listen to any music throughout. So I tend to not listen to music. Though in my training, there are times when I'll play some music and I'll just be running with it. Sometimes I'm listening to one song on the loop. I don't even realize it. Sometimes I realize it. It's not something that affects me too much. Though I love to listen to music. And there are times when I do easy runs, when I'm just going and having fun on a run, and I will tend to, listen to a song. I'll probably sing along if I can. When it comes to talking to myself, it again varies a lot. For example, if I'm in a doing an event, I tend to then be a little more focused in my conversation with myself as well. My talks are revolving mostly around, whether I'm eating the right food, whether I'm drinking the right water, if I'm drinking enough water, if I'm eating enough calories, how am I feeling? I talk to myself about things that are sort of related to what I'm doing. I'll tell myself, okay, Kieren, you've done 30% of the way, you've done 50% of the way, you're left with 40%, you're left with 20%. I'll tell things like that. If I'm feeling great, then I'll sort of try and enjoy a moment of it. I'll try and just look around and have, try and be at peace and calm. If I'm having a hard time where something is hurting or I can't consume enough calories or I'm throwing up, then I'll try and have a little more. My conversations will revolve more around trying to solve the problem. In the sense, if I'm paining, if I'm showing up, it's because I've been doing something wrong. So I'm trying to solve why is it that I'm not able to have what can I do, what should I do? Those kind of conversations that I'll tend to have there. There are many times where I just try to be very present and not talk and just concentrate. For example, when I was doing things like Deo Tibba and stuff, right? It is very exposed. There are a lot of sections on the mountain where if you fall, you're going down 1.5 kilometers, 2 kilometers down the mountain. So naturally, it is quite a risky situation, right? So in those situations, I am zoned in and focused on everything that I'm doing, whether it's hitting the ice axe into the ice or the crampons into those ice, the sound of it, every step is calculated. Then I'm a lot more focused at what I'm doing. So there are different moments throughout and around.
Coming to life, who are your role models?
So I think there are many people that I've read about over the years, and I do, like reading about a lot of people. So I think when I was growing up, my role models were different. But now that I've grown up to some extent, I think the person I would look up to probably the most is my dad, mainly because I think I like his work ethic, and I wish I had that kind of work ethic as well. And the amount of work he puts in and the amount of support he gives me, is. I wish I could be doing half of the stuff he does. So he is someone that I do look up to. And I think he's a constant sort of source of motivation for me in my life. Whether when it comes to looking up at people in other spaces, I used to read a lot and used to, read a lot about guys like Richard Branson and, look up to them and all. But I think with time that has changed.
Coming to the approach part, how do you approach your day, or how do you approach your life? Because in Stoicism, they say that live your life as if today was your last day, and there are different concepts among a lot of stuff. So how do you normally approach your life or
I think
in a day?
I plan a lot. I have, like, for example, I'm at a stage right now in the year where I'm already working towards what I'm going to be doing in 2021. And I'm trying to work my plans because I think I need time to prepare for an event. I can't just decide very randomly. So I usually plan the whole year. No, I won't say like it will all work out exactly that way, but at least get a general idea from what races I'm doing, how they are going to be spread out, and I like to have that plan well in advance. So I work on it well in advance. And when it comes to my day, I work at basically. So the way I work is, let's say I have a race I'm doing, I work backwards into what I need to be doing at different points in the months building up to the race, and then I break the months down into weeks and the weeks down into days, and sort of then I take one day at a time. I don't. I try to live in the present, and once I have that roadmap, I try to live in the present as to what I need to do right now to help me get to where I want to get 6 months later. And then usually things are revolving around making plans as well.
Yeah, what are your missions and your future vision?
It's pretty much what I've already said at some point on our conversation, right? It is for me to do. I have goals in the space of running, in the space of mountaineering that I want to sort of achieve. but that is only one sort of a personal. There is things that I want to do for myself. But the other side of things is to see this whole space of this whole outdoor space, right? That growing and that becoming, that developing and becoming more uh, accessible and to a lot more people. Why should it be that only I am doing the stuff that I'm currently doing? We should be in a place where there are a lot of people who can do these things. I would like to be in that position, right? It shouldn't be just me. It should be more people, and that also requires some kind of stability in the space, right? Whether it's people making a living out of it, whether it's possibility of someone making a career out of it. I think I would like to play a role in that as well, where I hope that whatever I'm doing eventually allows for more people to do this stuff as well, whether it's working with companies, working with brands, developing the space, or just showing the potential of the space to people, right?
How do you get to know yourself better? Through the process, how have you understood what works for you and what doesn't works for you? And in the same thing, how would you tell a person
I
how
think
to get
it
to know
starts a
himself
lot with
or herself better?
self-reflection, where you are paying attention to yourself, right? It's when it's easy to say that it's easy to think that we do pay attention to ourselves, but it's not the case. It's a additional effort. You need to make that effort to see how you are reacting to a run, how you're reacting to water, if you're drinking too much, too less, how you're reacting to food, how is your mental space, how's your physical space, and that is and you need to make an effort to understand those things. So for me, it has not been an intentional process. It has happened over time because I have had to train myself over the years for running, right? So that has allowed me to sort of understand myself better because I've had to do that to train better. And with time, it's taken me a lot of trial and error to understand what works and how I'll react to things. Like I can eat something if it's for a run and I know how I'll react in a run to it. Like I'm started to become fairly fine-tuned with myself. And that is a learning process. And it starts with, a simple thing of just paying attention to yourself and what you're doing on a daily basis. And it's every small thing that will you realize, right? For example, it's a very small, stupid thing, but for example, I have realized I love to wash my clothes with my own hands. Like I don't use a machine still. Like I like to take my socks and my shirt and my shoes, and I like to wash them with my own hand. It's soothing, a very soothing and a calming process for me, and I love doing that.
That's true. That's true.
So what is the biggest learning for the from the past 27 years of your life
Nothing
through the whole
happens. There's so
journey
many. Nothing
till
happens
date?
overnight. You got to keep doing things. Put your head down. Trust in yourself. Have the confidence in yourself. Um, you got to be honest to yourself. I think that's way harder than being honest to other people. It's very easy to make things up in your head, but actually being extremely honest to yourself is very important.
So so what advice would you give a young person or a person who is planning to take up
I
a
mean,
ultra marathon as a career?
right now it's be ready for a lot of hardships, be ready for a lot of disappointments, and be ready to put in a lot of work because the space still doesn't really exist as such. So if you want to do this as a full-time thing, you need to figure out a lot of things, and every day is sort of a challenge or sort of working at and making ends meet. Everything. It's not just training. So you need to be comfortable with multiple things and situations in life. So that is so you need to be very clear about what you're getting into. And second, if you want to anyways do this as a sport, you need to have fun. Running is not it's a beautiful activity, and you should be able to enjoy running as running and not try to have any other sort of things driving you, or whether it's trying to get a little famous or trying to get your name in the museum or anything of that sort. So you should basically, at the crux of it, enjoy lacing up every day and getting out of that door, irrespective of the weather, irrespective of how you feel, and training and putting in that work.
That's true. Right? That's very true.
So, what is success according to you? How do you measure your
So I
success,
think
and
it's
what
too
are
early in my
your
life to be able
ingredients
to
to
answer something of
success?
that sort. But I think in the end, success is whatever you have done with your life and with your time that's been given to you. If you're happy with that, I think that is success. So whatever we are driven by, maybe some people are driven by just accumulating a lot of money. Maybe some people are just driven by farming their own food. It doesn't matter, right? At the end, whenever we have spent enough time and we look back on our time, if whatever we have done with our days allows us to be happy about ourselves and feel satisfied and make us feel proud of what we have done, I think that is what's probably the most successful kind of life to live.
That's really short, crisply put. Short and crisply put. Thank you so much for coming. It's been a real pleasure to host you, and we feel really honored. Wishing you a lot of success, lot of laurels. Hope you bring much more medals to our country, and we wish you the best from the Student Athlete Podcast, man. Thank you so much. What's good, everybody? I hope you had a wonderful time listening to this beautiful episode with one of India's finest athletes, Kieren D'Souza. Catch you soon with another episode of the Student Athlete Podcast, India's first podcast for the student athletes. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2021. Stay home, stay safe.